so much for thinking of this.
Yeah, that was one of those. That was hard. Seeing somebody that.
Grab a handful of pens.
I know.
Hello? All right. Okay. Call the meeting to order. I'd like to start by calling the roll.
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Norwood,
Here.
Commissioner Zell,
Here.
Commissioner Waddell,
Here.
Commissioner Stallings,
Here.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Here. Okay. Next, we'll have the invocation and flag salute. Doing the invocation tonight is going to be Pastor Mark McAdoo. And Ben, could you lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. If you would please join me as we pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening and the blessings of this past year. Births and marriages, school graduations and new jobs, special family times, and the celebrations of lives well lived in you. Thank you for the challenges of 2020 and the many ways we were stretched and have grown. Thank you for our friends and neighbors, our city leaders who have done their absolute best to lead us through new challenges and ever-changing realities. We thank you for the sacrifices they have made on our behalves. Forgive us for our self-focus and any personal pettiness in our lives. May our goal always be to love you and love one another with all of our hearts. Thank you, Lord, for a new year, a new start, a clean slate for new beginnings. May we seek you for our city, our state, our nation, and our world. Thank you for your faithfulness. Your name is faithful and true. May we be faithful to you in this new year and be good neighbors to one another. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Item number 3, minutes. Consider approval of the minutes of the rescheduled regular commission meeting of December 15th, 2020.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 4, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item 4.1, consider an appointment of a Ward 6 commissioner to fill unexpired term through May of 2021. Before we get started, I'd just like to say how this is going to kind of go. The first thing I'd like to do is thank all of those that stepped forward and volunteered to do this. One of the things this body has talked about many times is the kind of, it seemed like a lack of concern because we never had anybody that wanted to come to the meetings. Not only do we have people coming to meetings, but we have 8 people that decided to step up and volunteer their time to fill in as the commissioner until the election is over for this seat. So I appreciate that. I'm very encouraged by that. First, what we're going to do is each one of the candidates 5 minutes to introduce themselves to the commission and tell us whatever you'd like us to consider. It's not a requirement, but it's your 5 minutes. If you'd like to use it, you certainly may. After that, we'll go ahead and take the vote. After the vote is done, I'll administer the oath of office to whoever is the successful candidate, and we'll seat the candidate and then move on with the meeting. So that said, let's, I think I'll just take them in the order that I have them on this ballot sheet. So Tammy Berry, would you like to speak?
Good evening. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good, good, welcome.
Thank you. I applied to be the interim Ward 6 because I've had a long interest in public service. While I may not actually be from Enid, I actually grew up from Hennessy, which is a mere 20 miles away, if that. So I spent a lot of my youth here in Enid shopping and entertainment and whatnot. And I came back from Texas, being in Dallas. So I've been in a big city, seen how that's run, grapevine. But I really enjoy it here. I've gotten involved with the Gaslight Theater. I work at KOFM, Williams Media Group. So I meet a lot of different people. I'm on the board at Gaslight. I serve as the executive secretary as well as the head of sales and marketing committee. I really enjoy Enid. I came back to marry my husband, so it's home, you know. I do see a lot of things that I would like to see done. I do enjoy helping other people and listening to what they want to see done here in town, and see what we can all do together as a group, be a team.
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much. Next, William Grower.
Good afternoon. Thanks for everyone's time.
Can you pull the mic up a little?
Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. My name's Will Groller. I've lived in Enid since 2016. I'm originally from Central Illinois. For us and my family, this is the big city. So we love being part of this community. Been married to my wife for 10 years. She's a hairdresser here in Enid, and we've got 2 girls that are in elementary school. I manage the flour mill for ADM. So part of that and part of my experience, I'm in charge of the safety and welfare of 75, almost all of them who are part of this community. Also manage large projects and multi-million-dollar budgets each year. But I felt called to come to this, to be part of the city leadership, to hopefully build a good community for our families and our businesses, and look forward to hopefully working with you. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Scott Orr.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. My name is Scott Orr. We moved here, we were introduced to Enid back in 1999. We went, when I was a student pilot here down at Vance Air Force Base. Moved away for one assignment, came back here, and we've been here 16 years, 17, coming on 17 years, and got my kids out of the house. They're growing. We're ready to get back to the community that we've decided to make our permanent home. Look forward to being part of the leadership here in Enid, and getting to work on some things that need to be done. We've got a few infrastructure ideas I have, and get some roads cleaned up, and look forward to an opportunity to work with you guys.
Okay, thank you. Michael Shook.
Yeah, my name's Michael Shuck. My family's been in and around Northwest Oklahoma. Enid was a place that I would come in and shop and stuff when we were visiting with all my relatives. I've had the chance to live here for the last 5 years. And everybody knows this, Enid's really where you feel like you're home. So happy to be here. Graduated from OSU, started working as an architect. I've worked as an architect for about 20 years. Started my career doing schools and churches and things like that were real community based. Moved on to work with business leaders and stuff like that, working with them to in architecture, trying to find ways to maximize their efficiency to help them grow and different things like that. I've got a lot of experience in things like that you guys work on a lot. You know, I've done parks, aquatic centers, skate parks, you know, all the fun stuff. I also do kind of the back of house stuff, the streets, the drainage structures, the utilities, just a real broad set of experiences. I've been on the Board of Adjustments, on the PACE, on the ADA Access Board, and the Special Sales Tax Oversight Committee. So I've really worked with the city trying to get involved, understand how the city works here. As an architect, one of the key things you got to do, a lot of people think architects sit there and kind of draw a little pretty picture and it becomes a building. In reality, what you're doing is you're building a big team of consultants and contractors and owners and different things, and you've got to work with all those people. That's one of the big things I'm really into, is really trying to work with people, to really kind of develop consensus and pull people together. And I think that's helped a lot with my education in architecture. I came here to work for Enid Public Schools, work on the $92 million bond issue. I was really proud of that. I really am sad that we haven't been able to go see the new gym and PAC. That's so exciting. People have seen it, have been really excited about it. They're having an open house. I think it's on the 17th, so everybody should go take a look at it. It's really impressive that the voters voted for that, and then we've got that built. And that's one of those things where I think that it shows a lot for me, is that I've done what the voters wanted. The voters asked for that, and I'm very proud that I went down through their whole list and got everything that they wanted done. It just shows that I listened to the voters. I'm also very accountable. We had a citizens group that would watch over what I did. So I had to make sure constantly that we were doing what we told the voters to do. With that, you know, as the director of facilities for Enid Public Schools, I was essentially just handed a chunk of money, taxpayer money, and told to allocate that appropriately. So it had to really fall on me to be very equitable about it, to really kind of prioritize that type of funding. You can't just do it cheap. You got to do the best with what you had. So I was really proud to be able to do some real quality work with that money. I'm now finished that contract with Enid Public Schools and started my own business, where I'm focused on trying to develop different areas around Enid. Affordable housing is one of those I can probably talk about a little bit, but it's really kind of exciting, and there's a lot of potential around here. So I decided to stay here because of that potential, because of that excitement. And I know that I can, with my skill set, I can really help Enid grow. I want to talk a little bit about the priorities I have for running for this position. Everybody knows that infrastructure is really critical. It's like the foundation of your house. You've got to really make sure you're taking care of that. With the schools, I was riding all over their schools in every single corner of our city. So I got to drive through the back roads, and I've seen those rough roads. You know, there's some real places that need to have some attention. I've also, doing the schools, had to repair sewer lines and water lines and streets. I'm the one that's running the scope down the sewer line so you can see how you don't want to know what's in there. Little cockroaches and everything. It's kind of scary. But there's some issues like that really need to be taken care of. There's some water lines that you just can't build anything there because you can't get water to that area. And we really need to focus on that. The other part that is economic development. If you're not, keeping your house in repair, if you're not keeping that foundation in repair, you need to be able to fix it, but you need to have money to be able to fix it. So economic development's that next part of my priority list. And am I going over yet?
You're getting pretty close.
Okay, just a little bit longer here. Economic development. We need to build a city that people want to live in. You constantly hear this, there's no place to go, there's nothing to do. We also need to build a city that businesses want to grow in. And that's not just that we want to bring businesses here, but we want to build the businesses up that we've got. So really want to look at that as economic development. Now the city's part of that is just to be the spark. I've worked in downtown Oklahoma City in Automobile Alley. That's Broadway downtown. It started out being kind of a scary place when I started working on projects down there. A few years later now, 10 years later, it's the place you want to go for Christmas. You've seen the lights. You watch the evening news. They always seem to be down there shooting a shot down there. And the city's part of that was simply doing something they were going to do anyway, was repairing a street, putting in some benches. They named it Automobile Alley and put some signs up. That was the city's part of it, but that was the spark that changed it from a scary street to the place you want to go shopping for Christmas. So that's the thing I'm really interested in, is finding those places that you can focus, the limited budget we have to be able to create a spark to help the city grow.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks.
Next, Jeff Funk.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jeff Funk. My wife, Lindy, and I have been Enid residents for the last almost 20 years now, and we're blessed to have children and grandchildren here in the community as well. I appreciate the opportunity to be among 8 very qualified candidates for this short-term commission position. All of us, we're here because we seek to give back to our community. You have in front of you my written application. Beyond that, I'd like to add just 2 things. First, because of my prior employment with the newspaper, I needed to stay current with city government activities. And I think that could help me be a quick study, which for this very short-term position would be helpful. Second, in your role as policymakers for this large municipal enterprise, you are in a unique situation of doing business a little bit differently than other businesses in the community, in that you're doing the public's business with public funds in largely public settings, such as what we're in this evening. I think my acquaintance with the open records laws, open meetings principles would be helpful in making a quick transition in the position. Finally, as to my motivation for seeking a public service role, I've been fortunate over the last 17 years to be able to hand out Pillar of the Plains awards, often in the ballroom upstairs in this building, to some wonderful volunteers who've done extraordinary work in this community and in this region. As I've announced the contributions of those individuals, their background, almost 70 individuals at this point, one lesson has been very clear. Motivated volunteers who are willing to work hard and willing to collaborate with other people can indeed make a positive, lasting difference in our community. That is what motivates me, and I think that's what motivates all of us, is to help take a part in making a positive difference in our community, helping in public service. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brian Hecker.
Good evening, gentlemen, lady. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you. I moved to Enid in 1997, so far I have the longest tenure at Enid. I moved here, some of you may not know that I built the Applebee's here. I worked for Apple Gold Group. I moved here and I oversaw the construction of the Applebee's being built here. The stoplight right in front of it was part of the city council meetings back then because they were making Apple Gold Group help pay for the stoplight because they created traffic there. I lasted longer than Applebee's, so I'm kind of proud of that. I moved here in 97. I moved here from Owasso. I've been in the restaurant industry since I was 18 years old. And great mentors and have really enjoyed living in Enid. I actually got promoted. My wife and I, who's from Enid, moved away for 1 year. After a year, we decided this isn't for us. We got to get home, and this is home. I've been somewhat active in politics, whether in the forefront or in the background, following what's going on through the city council, through state government, through federal government all my life. I told my regional manager when I was at Applebee's in 1999, almost 2000, someday I'm going to be mayor. Now I'm not challenging George or anything like that, but this is my goal. Some might ask, why aren't you running for the position right now for Ward 6? I had contemplated, I had prayed on it, I discussed it with my wife. But where my children are in their age right now, I felt like I want to be a part of their lives. And sometimes they have events on Tuesdays, whether it be Gaslight Theater on a Thursday, on the weekends, the meetings, and also owning a restaurant, which is a 7-day-a-week job. I didn't feel like I could fully devote my time to that 100%. The interim, definitely interested in to see what it's like. I am very active. Like I said, I read your agendas, I follow the information, I follow the meetings, whether it be online or following through reading what happened the next day through the meeting notes. I would appreciate the council considering me, as I feel that I have the same ideologic philosophy as Mr. Mason. Okay, Ward 6 chose Mr. Mason. Him and I have the same political ideologies. We have spoken a couple of times. I have followed what he's done through his runs in for other offices. So if you're not going to appoint me, I would look at who has a similar philosophy as him, because that's what people at Ward 6 chose, was somebody with the ideology that Mr. Mason had. I think he did a great job. I think you guys did a great job. You got a tough job. You're going to be hated some days and loved some days, just as I am in my business, okay? Some days people hate my business, some days people love my business. But I would appreciate you guys considering me as somebody. I will step down the moment somebody is elected to the position, as that person has been duly elected by the people of the ward. I would just ask that if you don't choose me, choose somebody that has the same ideology as Mr. Mason, which I feel I do. Appreciate your time. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you. Ryan Reed, Reb.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to stand in front of you today. As you said, my name's Ryan Red. I've been in Enid about 8 years, a little over 8 years. I'm an engineer, like Mr. Stallings here. Stallings, there we go. And work for the Coke Fertilizer Company out east of town. I'm married, been married 26 years, have 6 kids, and raising my kids here in Enid. And we love it here. Really feel like this is the Garden of Enid. And I really want this community to thrive and to do well. One of the things that I actually have a small business on the side as well. And one of the things that I've seen is there's lots of regulations in business for small businesses. I think big businesses get a lot of attention because, they'll bring in a lot of workers. So we really try to court big businesses and try to bring them in. But one of the things I've heard as I've talked to people in my ward is that a lot of the small businesses, there's a lot of regulations for those small businesses. Sometimes they're hard to, those regulations are hard to comply with. Sometimes they may not make sense. And so I feel like, one of the ways that the city council can help is to reduce some of those regulations on small businesses. Some of those, one that I heard of was a person wanted to put a sign up on their building, and apparently the sign was too big for the frontage on the building. And I think there was a lawsuit about this building, and they had to paint over the eagle and the flag on the side of their building, and then they brought a lawsuit, and that was changed. They were able to put the sign back up. So I think there's some things like that where we could just, as a city council, we could reduce some of those regulations. And one of the things that I'd like to do, and of course I'm running for the seat as well, but one of the things I'd like to do is start a formal communication with the people of Ward 6 of the city and find out what are the things what are the pain points, and can those pain points be reduced so that business is easier to transact, business is less painful, that businesses want to stay here, that businesses want to come here. And I think that I like to talk to people. I enjoy getting out and visiting with people, and I find that I can gain people's trust reasonably quickly, and they'll tell me the things they're concerned about. And so that's one of my goals, is to try and make Enid a more small business friendly place. Thanks for considering me. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Taylor Venus.
blessing and the curse of being at the end of the alphabet. So, I've interacted with all of you in different capacities. Thanks for opening this up. I mean, it's unfortunate. Well, Dave was probably happy he sold his house. So happy that we had 8 people apply for this. There's some main points that I think qualify me to serve for probably maybe only 3 meetings, or could be 7 meetings on city council. Main one, I've pretty much been involved with city government and Enid since I've moved here, and various capacities, whether serving on boards, commissions, in my practice as an attorney. And it's been mentioned earlier, I think me and ex-commissioner David Mason have a lot of similar beliefs, and kind of furthermore, how it was mentioned that maybe we should put someone in place that has similar beliefs, because that's what the people Ward 6 wanted. Third, even though it will be the short term, I'm gonna do all I can to keep Ward 6 individuals informed, citizens informed about what's going on. I've ran for other things, and that's always been one big factor. I want to keep people informed, because if we don't keep people informed, how are we going to get good feedback on how we should serve our community? Fourth, I think I'll add some youth to the board, have a little diversity in opinion. Not that just because you're a little more seasoned on some things than I am. In reality, I wouldn't have probably really ever gotten involved with city government if it wasn't for Commissioner Rozelle doing what he did. We worked on some different boards early on when I moved to Enid, and his fervor and passion for our community is kind of what pushed me to get involved in the city. I know we don't always get along and agree on things, but his passion's always been something I've been very fond of. And I think if we put another younger individual on, we could possibly get that next generation of citizens to be more involved in our community, because those are the people we're trying to draw to our community so that we'll be able to grow in the future. And lastly, I intend to, as soon as someone's whether it's in next month or in April, once they're ready and they feel comfortable, I plan on being done, because that's what the people want. At the end of the day, I'm going to help the city of Enid, and if you put someone else on there, I think you guys all know me. I'm still going to be here to help, and I hope everyone else that applied, even if they don't, they get involved on a board or commission or another organization in our community, because we all know passionate volunteers you're never going to turn away. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now the tough part. We have 8 people that I think any one of which could represent very well the Ward 6, but we can only have one. So I guess I'll ask if any of the commissioners have anything like to say. And if not, let's go ahead and cast your ballot, fill out your ballot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read who received which votes and who they received them from, as we do with any other committee that we select people to serve on. We had 2 that voted for Michael. Michael Shook, it was Norwood and Ezell, Commissioners Norwood and Commissioner Ezell. Jeff Funk received 4 votes. Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Stallings, and Mayor Pankinen. So the interim Ward 6 commissioner is going to be Jeff Funk. Congratulations, Jeff. Again, I'd like to thank everybody that did sign up. It made it a tough decision when you have that much talent and that many people that really want to serve. So I do appreciate that, and I hope that continues. Next is item 4.2, conduct installation of the newly appointed Ward 6 commissioner. So Jeff, if you'd come forward, please. All right. If you would, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Jeffrey Funk,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not knowingly
and I will not knowingly
receive, directly or indirectly,
receive directly or indirectly
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear or affirm
I further swear or affirm
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
as the Ward 6 Commissioner of the City of Enid to the best of my ability.
as the Ward 6 Commissioner of the City of Enid to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. Please take your seat, Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Commissioner Funk. Moving on, hearings. Paragraph 5, hearings, paragraph 5.1. Hold a public hearing to consider and take comment on an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 10, entitled Supplemental Zones, Article A, PUD Planned Unit Development, to repeal Section 11-10A-6, number of permitted dwellings in its entirety, and Section 11-10-7, non-residential intensity, and reserve the sections for further use, and to amend Section 11-10A-9 to add R3 residential mobile home neighborhood district to the list of residential districts that may be included in multifamily uses, and include R6 mobile home district park as a permissible zoning for a PUD that will include residential uses, provide for repealer, savings clause, and severability and codification. We had a couple of people that were signed up to speak to that. I don't have the list, so let me get the list to make sure that we get everybody. Okay, Melissa Gilbert, you were first on the list, so if you'd like to address us, you may.
I'm Melissa Crabtree, not Melissa Gilbert, but I think that's who you mean. So it sounded like somebody was going to speak to the issue, so that person might answer my questions.
Okay.
So that might be a better way to start.
Okay. Scout, were you going to do Chris Bauer is? Chris, come on forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. On the screen, I think you can see it, but you also probably have it in your packet. I've asked for our IT department to put page 2 of the ordinance on the screen. I can see it and the people behind me can see it, and it's over here for you. The thing I want you to focus on is A1, and do you see R3 with the underline underneath it? That is the significant change of this ordinance. And what this does, without this change, you cannot do a planned unit development, which we've shortened to an acronym of PUD, on property zoned R3. The project that's waiting to come before this body for approval is a tiny house village that's going to be proposed by Forgotten Ministries. And I've worked with them now for what's turned out to be a lengthy period of time. And we've looked at several different options. This was the option I proposed to them a couple of years ago, would be the simplest and easy way to move forward, is if the city would amend its PUD ordinance and allow a PUD overlay over R3. And I want to pause there for a minute just to give people and the commission an overview of what a PUD is. All of our zoning in Enid is we have base zoning. The building we're in is in our downtown zoning. It's called C4. Out on West Garrett, most of our retail is C3. Where most of us live is probably R2, single family dwellings. Those regulations tell you what you can do in those different zoning categories. When you do a PUD overlay over the base zoning, then the applicant can bring forth a more unified design that the underlying zoning district would not permit. So I want to give you a couple examples. We've got several PUDs in Enid. The very first one was Golden Oaks. You may wonder, how do we have a high rise coming out of the prairie in northwest Enid? That was zoned R1 with the PUD, and the beauty of a PUD is it increases the density and it allows you to go vertical. And we have the unique design that we have there. You have the high-rise living, you have the nursing home, and et cetera, and assisted living in the cottages. The second PUD that Enid saw was the Pheasant Run Golf Community, which is another good aspect of a PUD, is you concentrate density and offset with large open space, i.e. the golf course. The third PUD we did was with Walmart years ago at Garland and Garriott. So PUDs aren't just for residential, they can be for commercial. The fourth one is the Enid Methodist home there on Oakwood. They added some assisted living and some cottages, and I want to say it's called the Oaks or something. I may be wrong on that title. And then we did a PUD on, trying to remember the gentleman's name, over by Government Springs Park South on 8th Street that we passed and approved, but it never got developed. So this particular project that Forgotten Ministries wants to do would work very well with the PUD, because what they're wanting to do is provide 10 or 12 what they're calling tiny houses, but they would be individual dwelling units. And R3 is for single family or mobile homes. So which means you can only have one per lot. But when you go to a PUD, then you're allowed to increase those densities, which is what Forgotten Ministries needs to get to that 10 to 12. Then also they're looking at the people that they will be occupying these will probably not have cars. So our normal zoning ordinance requires 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. The PUD would allow them to work with you, the City Commission and the Planning Commission, what is the appropriate number of parking spaces. So there's the flexibility that you get with the PUD. Have I answered or gave you a good broad overview? I got a question. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
I know there's some people that are interested in how the process worked, Chris.
Okay.
Where does the PUD start? Where does it go for approval? When does the public have input and those sorts of things?
Great question. It's about a 2-month process. It will begin in front of the Planning Commission, but it ultimately comes before this board. You are the elected officials and the governing body, and like a normal rezoning, when I come before you to rezone a piece of property from residential to commercial, although MAPC looks at that and offers you a recommendation, it ultimately lies here of whether or not you do that rezoning. A PUD is the same way. So the first step in the process, and it actually has more layers than just a normal zoning, is, and I forgot a PUD that we did for Forgotten Ministries when they did the transitional housing south of their center for the men. We accomplished that through a PUD as well. I apologize. I know Jeremiah and Sarah in the audience, and I overlooked the obvious, excuse me. But what they will do again, if this is approved and we can move forward, they will bring forth a master plan and a PUD statement, which is words. It's a description of how the development is going to be. They will file that with my office. They will give me a list of all property owners within 300 feet. I have then the duty and obligation to send that notice to those people. We also give notice in the newspaper. We post the property. And then we have the meeting in front of the Planning Commission. Then it comes in front of the City Commission. And if that's approved, then they come back with their final site plan. And on small PUDs, it may be that you have the design statement, the PUD design, and the final site plan may come concurrently. It may just be, there are no changes. Pheasant Run, for example, using it as a PUD, that's over 3/4 of land, and it's not fully developed yet today, but that project is close to 25 years old. It is difficult for a developer to have a vision that far into the future. Do people want to buy small lots? Do they want larger lots or houses? And so what happens is it's phased, and then the developer can adjust the next few lots that they plat is the right size for the current market. So it gives flexibility there. Lots of process. Did I answer that okay, Commissioner? Very good. I will yield the floor in a minute. Showed you page 2, and the main thing was to focus on we're adding R3. Everything else that you see throughout the document where you see lines through, and this is standard when we're doing any kind of an ordinance, things being added, you'll see underlined. Things being eliminated from the ordinance, you'll see a strike through. You see a lot of strike through in this ordinance, and here's the reason why. This ordinance was tied to our previous comprehensive plan that looked at land classification in the form of densities and intensities. Our current comprehensive plan does not classify land that way anymore. So all we're doing with all the strike throughs, I know it looks a lot, is simply housekeeping. We're bringing our PUD ordinance in line with our current comprehensive plan. Are there any questions with that? I'm almost done, young lady. Okay. So it looks ominous, but it's not. We're just simply bringing it up. And then, let's see, IT. Are you on page 2? Yeah, beautiful. Just go up, please. I'm sorry, I meant down. I have this problem with Carla too. I'll say up, and so I don't communicate. Go to, you see 1 there, Ken? Can you get me 3? A little bit more. Whoa, stop. There we go. We amended our PUD ordinance for Forgotten Ministries when they did the men's transitional housing, and it was number 3. Do you see that there? In R3, you cannot have boarding houses, but you can in R7, and this is really important, and I want to emphasize this, why this is a benefit to do this. But back when we did that, we added 3 so that project could go forward, and it did, and it was approved, and it's been built, and it's been successful. You now should, well, Chris, if it's that good, why are you striking it out, right? Here's the answer. When you add R3 to one above, which I spent quite a bit of time focusing on, then you don't have the need for 3 anymore. Because adding R3 to one above in the second sentence will permit any use in an R7. Do you see that there in 1? And in R7 is where we talk about rooming and boarding houses and apartments. And really what the Forgotten Ministries tiny house village is multifamily. It's not multifamily in what we normally think in terms of an apartment building that has 6 or 7 units in there. They're individual dwelling units, but because there are more than one per lot, it puts it in the multifamily category, and R7 is multifamily. So there's a lot here, even though we're inserting one small thing, it ties to a lot of other things and gives Forgotten Ministry the maximum flexibility to work with this body and the Planning Commission to come up with the best unified design for that piece of property. With that, I'll answer your questions. Yes, Commissioner.
So anytime there's going to be a PUD, there's going to be, it's going to be brought before, and there's got to be a plan, and it's going to be brought before MAPC and anything that, any homes that it would affect or businesses would be advised of this. Is that right?
That is correct.
So that's the main takeaway that I want to use, that it's not just willy-nilly, it's they have to have this development.
You know, the longer I stand at the podium, my memory gets working better. One of the most controversial PUDs that we've done recently was Stonebridge Apartments on North Cleveland, just north of the new Walmart neighborhood center there. And most of you were here in Enid when that went on, and that went over multiple meetings. So the very short would be like 3 or 4 meetings, but as the interest is there and the concerns, we just expanded the number of meetings. I think that PUD process took about 6 months.
Yeah.
So the quickest it would be, Commission, is if everything lines up and we've done a good job as staff and working with the customer and getting a good product for you and the community to approve, would be 2 months, but it may be longer. I'm not advocating for longer. You know, the quicker we can get to success, we want to, but I can assure you there'll be ample time for input. And when those notices leave my office and show up in their mailbox, or when we post that sign on the property, my phone immediately starts ringing. I will have the PUD and the design statement in my office, and I welcome them to come and examine that. They do not have to wait just for the MAPC meeting or this meeting. All of that information is available to whoever wants to see it.
Once the project gets blessed by your office, who then has the ability to stop it from taking place, that project from taking place? I know it meets a couple of boards. MAPC, I would imagine, just would give a recommendation.
That's correct.
But is there another entity that has the ability to stop that project from taking place?
This board right here.
Okay.
If you don't approve it, it is stopped.
Gotcha. But before us, there's no one else who can stop that project from taking place other than your office telling them that they're not compliant with the things that they need to meet.
Right. I mean, I have the obligation to outline all of the regulations and explain those, which we do on a daily basis.
Sure.
And it would be appropriate for people of concern or opposition, because that's the purpose of the mailing. It's their opportunity to come forward and speak in favor of the request or against the request, whichever is their position.
Sure.
As staff, we're not advocating one or the other. We just want to make, we won't send out letters and notices until we have things to show people.
Exactly.
But whether it's approved or not rests solely on this body. Once you approve it, then it goes forward.
Well, really, this is a PUD. It's an opportunity for this body and the public to have more say than a lot of developments. When we took the site plan approval step off the city council's plate and shifted it to staff now 6 or 7 years ago, something in that order anyway. A lot more of these, just individual site plans for projects will come to city council, and that gave the public a lot more opportunity. I think it was probably a mistake to take it out of city council, even if it sped things up a little bit. But PUDs still provide a lot of opportunity for the public to have input, for city council to have input, and just by virtue of something having to come up in front of city council, I think it tends to get presented a little more clearly, and frequently developers are a little more prepared to respond to neighbors and other concerns. I think adding something to PUD is not really taking anything away from the process, just because of the additional oversight and the additional steps that are integral as part of the PUD, the whole shoot and match.
Yep. Have I answered your questions about the ordinance? And then I'll give the podium to the people that want to address you.
So we're just updating the ordinance. This is not approval of a little house project. It's just that caused us to look at the ordinance and update it to go with the comprehensive plan.
If you approve the ordinance in front of you this
Right.
evening,
Yep.
then that project can come to the next step, which is in front of the planning commission, then in front of you for
Okay.
review and approval. It does not approve of their project.
Okay.
It just allows it to move forward.
Okay.
That's real key.
All right.
Thank you for allowing me to
Mr.
visit.
Bauer,
Yes.
you've cited several previous PUDs. Are those previous PUDs precedent setting for the planning commission, and you follow the same type of guidelines, or is each proposal considered on its own merits, independent of the other planned unit developments?
They are independent, Commissioner, of the other ones. They're all unique and they're all different because they're all trying to solve a different puzzle. With having said that, though, in our PUD ordinance, there are very specific things that each PUD has to address. So there's the continuity, there is the consistency, but each PUD is unique to itself. And it's a great planning tool for the community to embrace non-traditional developments. And I'll put one more caveat on. If you remember our most recent comprehensive plan that we adopted, one of the major tenements in there was mixed uses. One thing about our current zoning ordinance, we have R2 and R3, R4, and C3, so it's compartmentalized. When we do PUDs, we can bring in commercial, different residential styles into one project that gets viewed as a total project. So it gives you more flexibility, which is what our comp plan is hoping that we do, because remember, we're spread out, and I've got my engineers in here and they'll tell you we already have more infrastructure than we can adequately say grace over. And just because a developer adds me another mile of road, water, and sewer, that's great, but eventually I have to take care of it. So what we're trying to do is up densities, and the Forgotten Ministries project would be doing that. There would be more dwelling units there under a PUD than not. Utilizes that existing infrastructure, road, water, and sewer more efficiently. And that's what our comprehensive plan is asking us to do. Increase our densities and do mixed use projects. And probably the most successful mixed use project is you're sitting in it right now. It's in my downtown. About anything you would like to do, we can do here. And we would like more housing to happen there. But that's kind of a market driven, but we have lots of uses here. So I got off on a tangent. I like this. This is the work that I do. I hope I haven't bored you, but I'm just trying to give you good information. Is there anything else? Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Melissa, thanks for stepping aside and letting him speak. So now we'd be happy to hear what you have to say.
Sure. I feel a whole lot smarter now. That was excellent. And he definitely answered all of my questions. I spoke with Mr. Stallings and Mr. Allen earlier today. And my biggest question was that the public was going to have a chance to speak to the issue if it was changing their adjacent property. And they answered it. So it was great. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Kevin, you also wanted to speak to this issue?
I'll speak to it later when it gets in the later part of it. So he answered a lot of questions. The guy that spoke. So But I will say one thing that Forgotten Ministries is a good ministry. So I think this would be a good project. Only thing I'm concerned about is the value of the property around it and it being maintained, which I believe Forgotten Ministries, I know Jeremiah personally, and the property value staying proper. And we don't want the breezeway re-happening again. That's my biggest concern. Keeping it drug-free, all the sexuality, and that's their ministry, faith-based. So that was one of the things I just wanted to say.
Okay. Jeremiah, did you want to speak?
I appreciate it, commissioners. So actually, Chris did a really good job. I actually wish that would have been the conversation that we would have had 3 years ago. The reason I kind of came tonight and after talking to a few commissioners was the agenda that was put out that was going to be talked about and the reasoning for the changing of the PUD for the tiny homes. And I believe that agenda has been changed possibly through a different organization because in that it talked about because of the closure of the breezeway was the reason why we now see a need to put tiny homes in different areas or to create villages for a possibility for the homeless to move into. When the breezeway got shut down, I'll start with that. I know that there was a lot of reasons. Obviously, we're downtown business. There was problems going on there. There was a few bad apples, and I got to talk to the guys that were causing the problems. But at the end of the day, you know, they really wanted me to be a voice for them, and they feel like they are being exploited and taken advantage of, and that they are being used for an agenda for a different program or organization to push this tiny home project forward. And so when the concerns of what was going on with the breezeway was brought to attention, I talked to Gerald and several of the commissioners about what it would be that we could help fix that problem. And so we are relocating the breezeway down behind 580. It is going to be an outdoor seating for not only our 580 customers, but also for the homeless community. 580 is built upon habitation, I guess you call it, or coexisting of the different demographics, the different types of people that come in. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have homeless that hang out there every day. So because of that, we are going to meet all the needs that the breezeway was having, a place for them to hang out, a place for them to use the restroom 24 hours, 7 days a week, a place for them to get out of the weather. And we will be taking the responsibility on ourselves to make sure that that's kept clean, that it's being watched, and it's being kept saved. And so I say that because something's changed with the process of this tiny home process. When we first came to the city to talk about this, the goal was to get this started 3 years ago, and Chris definitely fought for the PUD. But as that worked its way up the chain, there was some concerns that the city didn't want to venture down the road of changing the PUD, that they wanted to actually create a brand new ordinance. And that ordinance would be based upon several different metropolitan areas of how they had developed them into their city. And so we went through the process of 3 years of traveling to Detroit and to different areas to find ways to help make this the best for Enid so that it was done the right way and not just rushed. And so with all that being said, we came down to this about a month ago and speaking to the attorney and Chris on this, that the game plan was to vote in a new ordinance, and that after that new ordinance was in place, that we were going to then be able to go through a rezoning process. And so I don't know what the big holdup is. There's something that's going on, and I believe that it's some alternative agenda to take the breezeway and to use it as an opportunity to try to push tiny home building for the homeless. I can promise you, and there's not enough time for me to dive into that with you, you do not want that. It would cause massive issues in multiple parts of the town. And there's a reason why you have 4 organizations here in Enid that literally, that they give of their blood, sweat, and tears to help do everything they can to provide the needs that the homeless community have here in Enid. And I think that they are doing an outstanding job. And I speak for our Daily Bread, Hope Outreach, Salvation Army. They go out of the way, and the communication and the things that they go through to try to take someone from where they're at on the streets to helping them transition into a home, into a job, or through the process of helping them to recover through addictions. The last thing that I want to bring up is we have hit another major roadblock, again, with the tiny home rebuilding. And this is an issue that I think that is just as much as severe, is that when we went to try to figure out why we keep on getting delayed and why we can't move forward with this process, that we have now learned, and I'll quote what we were told, is that the Southern Heights neighborhood does not have an adequate supply of water, that we would not even be able to build a doghouse in that neighborhood at this point. And so we have a major water issue in that neighborhood that has to be addressed, because it has literally halted all development of construction building within that community. And so in order for us to even move forward with this project, whatever direction the commissioners decide to go, whether that's through a new ordinance or going through PUD, we will have to sprinkle every home that we build in that neighborhood to make it be able to meet the code for what the fire department's requiring for that. So those are the things I had to say. So if you have any questions, that's it. Yes, sir.
I got confused a little bit in your story. What is it that you are wanting to do?
Can't hear you, Rob.
What is it that you are wanting to do?
So our original plan 3 years ago, when we had thought about tiny home houses, was how to provide some type of low-income housing for people that are becoming at a place in their life where they're becoming elderly. So that could be elderlies, widows, veterans, and to offer a program for them that would set up long-term housing that would help them to live out the rest of their life with providing a purpose for them. So that purpose may be working in the garden, it may be working with kids, it may be working with the homeless shelters, but it's creating something for the people that would live in this village, something to do and to live out the remainder of their lives. It really was never, our focus was never on creating that for homeless people to live in.
Well, that's where I was confused. How did that interconnect happen?
Well, that's what happened in the agenda that was put out, and I sent that to a couple of the commissioners, that because of the breezeway shutdown, they were looking at creating a PUD. Actually, it was mentioned in Ward 4 for helping with the issue with the homeless population. And that's where I got confused, and that's why I'm here, because that was never in the beginning our agenda or our plan. And so something is pushing the direction of the city on this, and instead of we're now going back to the PUD, which was what we were trying to do 3 years ago in the beginning. But that all got halted due to the decision-making of whoever was in that leadership of creating a brand new ordinance, which we were told which was the safest way for the city to move forward with a tiny home development.
I guess my last question is, are you okay with what's proposed?
As long as the project gets started, I'm all right with it. Obviously, I think that the commissioners need to understand the process and the things that we've been going through, so that hopefully some of these things can be fixed, or maybe the question needs to be asked, why are we now going back to a PD when the goal for 3 years has been to create a brand new ordinance? What has changed that philosophy, I guess? And I think it has something to do with the breezeway closing down. And I don't know why those are getting pulled together.
I don't understand that either.
I don't either. That's exactly why I'm here.
I'm not sure either, but I think it makes sense that we upgrade the ordinance to reflect what our current master plan is. So I think that makes sense, and maybe it's long overdue, and maybe if it was done before, the issue wouldn't have happened 3 years ago that we're talking about.
Right.
But I think it makes sense that we do upgrade it and make it consistent with our plan.
Mr. Mayor, I also think it's important that in our next study session, that we speak directly about this water pressure issue. That's a huge public safety issue. Scott, if we can get that put on the next agenda or the next study session, so we can discuss that and get the appropriate people.
I'll just go ahead and let you know, Mr. Gilbert already put those marching orders out. So that's
Good.
already planned for the next agenda.
And actually, Scott, before the next agenda, would you send out the instructions to the rest of the city council on how to use the GIS system, where you can actually, the GIS system that the city has, I don't know if you guys have played with it, you can see all the engineering overlays for the whole city. And there's a tool where you can actually click and isolate areas by fire flow. The little icons are, I think they're still little fire extinguisher or fire hydrants of different colors to show the fire flow. But it's a really interesting, I mean, we should talk about in a study session, but just as an educating the city council, it's a really interesting exercise to go through there and look all over the city and be able to zoom in and see where the fire flow really is so wildly inadequate, and you can actually see where we've replaced water lines, how it has this carry-on effect of being able to facilitate additional improvement. You know, like the water line replacement on East Broadway will allow development down the road that never would have been possible because of that fire flow issue. But there's huge areas all over town. But anyway, if you would send out the directions, I think it will be instructive.
It'd be great to get a presentation of so we can see, you know, collectively
Really cool.
what those areas look like. That would be, I think the public would appreciate that.
Jeremiah, I just want to thank you for coming out and sharing your experience, because that's the reason why we're here, is to improve the city, quality of life. And, you know, you're in my ward, so I really appreciate it. And we're hoping for some development in that area beyond what you're talking about. So it's going to be helpful to get our infrastructure improved for the quality of life, and to be able to save homes in case we have a major fire. And you know, like Commissioner Waddell said, it's very important that we take this step. And I did talk to our city manager about it yesterday. So we had a nice little talk about it, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to say, you know, at the end of the day, you know, when it comes to the homeless people that here in Enid, you know, I love them and would do anything for them. And so, you know, if there's anything that's going on that's a concern of any of the commissioners and they would love to talk about that and work through a way for us to help them better, obviously we're open for any suggestions on that. But I can promise you we are doing everything we can to try to help with the situation. We had 5 guys get off the street just in the last month and get into a program, and all got jobs now. So, I mean, there's a lot of praise reports with what God's doing in that. So, and that's just us. I know the same Salvation Army and Hope Outreach and other ones are doing the same thing, but we are fighting those battles for you guys and trying to help with that in any way we can. So I appreciate your time.
Please keep us informed on what's going on with your project to expand your patio with seating for the homeless and things like that. You are taking on what was a public space and using your space to do that. So I think we should support you in that endeavor. So please keep us informed on what expenses and the things that are taking place, and you know, we should be able to find a way to support you.
Right. Yeah, so we're at the code department right now, so they're passing the permit. Once the permit's pulled, then we'll be able to get started on that. And I really think it's going to help. And we've talked to several of the business owners around us, and they're going to actually help support some of that.
That's phenomenal.
Because they didn't want to just remove them or get rid of what they had in place. They wanted to be able to do it in a way that was going to be obviously good for the homeless and for the business owners downtown. And I think this can help fix that problem.
That's good.
So
let us know how we can help, please.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the discussion we had on that topic. So we'll move to the next item. Is paragraph 6, administration. 6.1 is to vote on the hearing that we just had, that was just described. So I'll go ahead and read it. Consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 10, entitled Supplemental Zones, Article A, PUD Planned Unit Development, to repeal Section 11-10A-6, number of permitted dwelling units in its entirety, and Section 11-10-7, non-residential intensity, and reserve the sections for further use, and to amend Section 11-10A-9 to add R3 Residential Mobile Home Neighborhood District to the list of residential districts that may include multifamily uses and include R6 Mobile Home District, Park District as a permissible zoning for PUD that will include residential uses, providing for repealer, savings clause, severability, and codification.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye. Okay, thank you. Item 6.2, consider a resolution amending the 2020-2021 water capital improvement fund project by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $243,300.
No, try that again.
$243 million.
There you go.
$358,908.18 to increase the 2020-21 appropriated amount for water capital improvement department. Go ahead.
To approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item 6.3, consider approval of a contract with Garney Construction, Kansas City, Missouri for project W-2112C, Caw Lake Water Supply Project, Phase 4 construction in the amount of $243,358,908.18 and authorize the mayor to execute contract documents.
To approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
6.4, consider approval of a resolution amending the 2020-2021 general fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $200,000 to increase the 2020-2021 appropriate amounts for the general fund transfer department. Lisa, is this the one you were gonna speak to?
Yeah, this is Lisa's, right? Well, this is the budget amendment to fund the Economic Development Authority Small Business Financial Assistance Program.
This is Jennifer. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, this is the budget resolution to do that. And actually, she won't be speaking until down in the EEDA section. So this is just for general fund to be able to transfer.
All right, thank you.
So what we have to do is we transfer the 200,000 from the general fund to EEDA, and then that in turn funds ERDA for the additional amount for them to do their financial program.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to transfer the funds.
But if we don't approve the program, then the money just goes back, or we'd have to do another budget thing?
No, we just will not do the transfer.
Okay. I'll move to approve the transfer.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item 6.5, consider approval of a resolution amending the 2020-2021 general fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $250,000 to increase the 2020-2021 appropriated amount for the general fund capital replacement department. Scott?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, as you are aware, Randolph Street is a street that we've been working on for quite some time. Recently, you've had engineering come before you to talk about Randolph and Garland, improving that intersection. And we're doing work currently on, or about to kick off a project on Randolph between Washington and 7th Street. We're down between 26th and 30th and working. And so Randolph has been a part of our plan to improve city infrastructure and streets. And so what this does is it's asking for a budget item so that City Manager Gerald Gilbert can have the flexibility to purchase some properties on Randolph in between Van Buren and Johnson Street. There's that kind of island of houses in between Randolph and James, and we currently own 6 of those properties. We have purchased 4 of those properties in the last 18 to 24 months, and we have an additional 3 or 4 people that are probably willing to go ahead and sell the properties to us now. And so this money would be set aside so that we can go ahead and purchase those properties as they come up and are available.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Scott, has any of this property acquisition been through eminent domain, or has all of this been a voluntary buy-sell?
This has been completely voluntary. And right now what we're doing is we're just trying to give some people notice, say, hey, we might be interested in buying your property now. For some people, it makes more sense to sell it now. And certainly the housing market in Enid is in a pretty good place right now. So we're just trying to pay the assessed fair value for each property. And as they come up, we want to be ready. And so that's what this does, is it just allows us to be ready in case those people are prepared to sell now rather than later.
Do you have a timeline for when you want to acquire all of the property within that segment, Van Buren to Johnson?
Currently, there's really no timeline. There is going to come a point where we are ready to do that infrastructure, but I don't have any type of estimate on when we'll be there for that time.
I talked to Gerald about that, and I think he's going to put it on the study session.
Thank you, Scott. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion. Oh, yeah, we have a motion and a second. So call for the vote.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Zell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
And Mayor
Aye. Okay, item number 7, consent items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Zell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item number 9, all trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 10, Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 10.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2020-2021 fiscal financial plan for the Enid Municipal Authority in the amount of $243,358,908.18.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Zell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Item 10.2, approve a contract with TFR Enterprises for removal of tree limbs and brush that remains from damage from the recent ice storm for work beginning on December 1st, 2020.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any other discussion?
What's the total dollar value there anticipated?
Scott, do you have that?
The last spreadsheet that I saw that Mr. Hunter had put together, we were up to about $643,000 on this contract with TFR. and they're pretty well done. They'll be moving out of town here in the next few days. They've gone and done a second pass, and they may be in town through the rest of the week. And then anything that's still left over, residents can call in through the 15th, and City of Enid crews will pick that up. David, do you have anything else to add? Did I get that summed up pretty well? Okay, very good.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
I have to say, once we got them started up again, everything went swimmingly. So I was very pleased with this company, and I'm sure they want to get paid and get out of town.
All right. Okay, call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Approval 10.3, approval of claims in the amount of $472,506.28.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item number 11, adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item number 12, all trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item 13, Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 13.1, consider approval of a resolution increasing the 2020-2021 fiscal financial plan for Enid Economic Development Authority in the amount of $200,000. And before we vote, I'd like Lisa to go ahead and speak.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Got to get my glasses. Okay, so tonight I'd like to share with you a proposal coming from the Enid Regional Development Alliance in partnership with the City of Enid to allocate $200,000 of CARES funding to help support fixed operating costs for small businesses who have seen a dramatic drop in their revenue as a result of the pandemic. The program is designed as a grant for these businesses that could be used for fixed costs such as mortgage payments, rent payments, utility payments. We've also allowed for a 20% of cost of goods sold for those who have perishable goods. Specifically, you can imagine restaurants who are throwing out a lot of inventory as they try to keep up with demand, and then demand is not there, so they have to let that inventory expire and then purchase again. And so there's allowance for 20% cost of goods sold for those that are perishable, as well as $500 a month for deferred maintenance costs. And speaking with some of these businesses, it's been interesting to learn that that has been a challenge, in that they are obviously deferring a lot of maintenance costs right now in favor of paying for rent and mortgage and that type of thing. I believe many of the programs at the state and federal level that have been available for small businesses have not done as good a job maybe in providing funding for some of these ongoing costs, these fixed costs. And so we're hoping to fill that gap with this program. Some of the qualifications, I should say, so those, the mortgage payments, the utility payments, and those others that we just mentioned, the application can be made for 3 months worth of those expenses, not to exceed $15,000. Cities must be located within the city limits of Enid. They must have been in operation since at least January 1st of 2019. The majority of their sales must come from in-person transactions versus online. They must be able to demonstrate a reduction in revenue of at least 30% over same period last year, meaning 2019. And small businesses in this case are defined as those who have 2 full-time employees and not more than 25 full-time employees. And applications would begin being received tomorrow. And applications would continue to be received through, I've got the date on here somewhere. Y'all may have it there in front of you. I think it through the 22nd of January with awards being announced by the 29th of the month, end of the month. So it's something we want to do real quickly. Obviously, the continued effects of this pandemic are ongoing through the winter and the foreseeable future, the next few months. And so we want to get something out as quickly as possible to help sustain some of these small businesses in Enid. So I'd take any questions if you have any.
Why is it so strict? I love the idea of getting money into the hands of small businesses, but you have put so many restrictions in place and you've made it so onerous. I mean, if a business has been around since January 1, 2019, and it just seems like you have a pretty strict list here. I'm just going through this and what's listed in the application. Why is it so narrow? Why are we making it so hard? If the idea is to get money in the hands of small businesses in Enid, why are we not making this as simple, dead simple, err on the side of getting people who have a newer business, err on the side of getting people who maybe are part-time business? I mean, there's so many businesses in town that are not full-time employees, they're side gigs, they're side hustles that still are how people are feeding themselves. I mean, the other thing is, why are we prioritizing sales tax generating businesses? They get an extra point over non-sales tax generating. And why is a business that sells online less valid than a business that has a brick and mortar store? I mean, I love the idea. I think this is a great idea. I think it's dramatically overcomplicated for folks. Tell me about this set of criteria and why it's this hard.
Well, I would argue that it's not difficult. I think we are prioritizing those businesses that provide a return to the community, meaning the city specifically. And so that's one reason that sales tax revenues are prioritized, because that does provide revenue back to the city of Enid, since the city of Enid is providing this funding.
Well, no, it's not. This is CARES Act. This is federal dollars.
It is CARES Act money, but the city could allocate this CARES Act funding for some other purpose if they'd like to. I prioritize those that have full-time employees versus those that are contract employees, simply because those employees are tied to the community, that they're living here, they're not contracted out from some other community. Businesses that have been in place since 2019, I think it favors those businesses that have a longer term investment in Enid, that are just not brand new. It's more realistic to recognize that they, I think we want to invest this money in businesses that have been here and are going to continue to be here if it weren't for the pandemic. When a business is brand new, it's harder to determine their success rate. If they had opened in February 1 of 2020 and the pandemic hit, I don't think there's any way to know that their business plan has been tested and that they would have survived without
I think surviving 2020 and still being open now, if you were open in February 2020, is a pretty damn good sign of success. I mean, anyone who has made it through 2020 and still has doors open, kudos. I mean, you deserve credit for making it that far.
Well, if you'd like to make amendments, I'd be happy to hear those.
Well, I kind of like the idea of having some separation. I mean, if all we do is say the first 25 businesses to come in get a free check, I don't think that's what we're after. I think we want to have more than that. And I really don't think it's that onerous.
Well, any program with limited funds has to have some definition as to those who qualify and those who don't. And so you can obviously determine what those qualifications are a million different ways. And this is how this one has been designed, but we can certainly take input on that if you think there needs to be a change.
I would like to be able to support small businesses who are people who are, it's not, and why I'm pushing on this is that so many people to make ends meet, so many people to keep the lights on are working a couple things, or they work hourly one place, but they have a side business and they couldn't pay the mortgage if they didn't have their side business. That we are not, the way this is set up, this is set up to support a traditional brick and mortar. You have a storefront, you do a thing, you sell a thing, but man, that's a pretty narrow scope of our economy. I also think the idea that generating sales tax makes you more worthwhile is, we have a huge service industry in this community. folks raking leaves, folks doing landscaping stuff. There's a huge service industry all the way up to, practicing law, to cutting hair. I mean, and I know a lot of those people that are struggling because
This is not a requirement that you provide sales tax revenue to the state to be able, to the city to be able to apply for the program. This is prioritized on those businesses who provide jobs to other employees.
Sure.
The city has provided quite a substantial amount of the CARES funding for individuals to help pay for their mortgages and utilities individually. And this is specifically designed to support businesses who hire and employ people.
I guess I'd just like to be able to support businesses I feel like what you have here is a program that's going to support a fairly narrow scope of business.
Yeah.
And I'd like to be able to expand it somehow.
But that doesn't disqualify you, correct? It's just weighted.
Right, it does not disqualify anybody. The only
Well,
limitation
the qualifications, a lot of these qualifications will be disqualifying. I mean,
Within the
having
ci-
2 full-time employees, if you don't have 2 full-time employees, you don't qualify.
Right, if you're just only self-employed, you would not qualify.
Or you have 3 part-time employees or,
No, this is full-time equivalents.
Okay, so 3 part-time employees isn't a full-time equivalent. I mean, that's what I mean in terms of, you
I
got
would guess
3
so.
guys working 20 hours a pop.
Would
That's
be-
not 2 full-time equivalents.
No, that was correct, it would not be, but it also could be, so.
Lisa, I appreciate the thought process that's gone into this proposal. Have you modeled this after some other communities or regions plan for allocating CARES funding, or is this all original work by the ERDA?
It is original in the sense that we crafted it for what we believe fit the needs of Enid best and to fill the gaps that we found were not being provided through other funding sources to businesses in Enid. Every community, if you've been watching what other communities have done with their funding to support business, have done it each a little bit differently.
Can we do this? Can we kick the application deadline back to Monday, January 18th, and then put this on the city council agenda for Tuesday, the 19th, with the idea that you can come back and tell us if the money hasn't all been applied for, there aren't enough applications, that then at that next meeting in January, we can tweak the scope a little bit. We can open it up, because I totally agree. We got to get this money in people's hands and get it quickly. But if your deadline runs through the 25th, so it's only shaving a few days off it, shaving a week off it. And then if it's going gangbusters and it looks like you've got more than applicants, then my concerns are not an issue. But if, there's still $100,000 sitting there that nobody's applied for, then let's open it up. Let's try to get it in more people's hands. Would that be any problem?
Well, if it's not all spent, we could extend it or use the 100,000 for the next round and maybe open it up a little bit.
I actually anticipated coming back and requesting more funding at the end of the month, because I do expect this will be exhausted rather quickly. This really funds about 13 businesses is all.
I think that was my primary concern, that this wouldn't be the only time we will do this. And I feel like, I'm going to mirror what George said, Mr. Mayor, is that I'm glad your office is taking care of this. I also believe that if somebody is struggling and they're worried about filling out these applications, that your office will help people, encourage and help them make these applications. But I certainly would hope this isn't the only time that we put $200,000 is measly.
It is.
And it's almost an embarrassment to me, but since I know where the funds come, but I'm not, positive of that, I would like to see us do some more in the future. I don't want to hold up this process tonight, though. I want to move forward with this.
If you want to allocate additional funding to that tonight, I'm sure you're able to do that.
Well, I would never
but-
do that without staff. That's why they're the experts. I'm just a decider, and I don't decide unless they say what to do. So I'm not going to stick my, head on the block.
Well,
Yeah.
Throwing in another 100,000, but I would make a motion to approve this.
I second.
I'd just like to, I would like to look at this again at the next meeting, the next city council meeting. I'd like to know who all has applied at the next city council meeting. And I'd like to look at a broader set of criteria. And I'll let you develop that, but please, before the next city council meeting, figure out a criteria that still is some criteria, but is getting things in the hands of people who
Ben,
who
I'll
have
need
more
you to
than one
help
job.
define what you're looking for, because broad can be just wide open.
Well, Lisa, you know what I'm looking for. I just described it. And if you can't, I'm sure we can find somebody who can, but it's like, this is what I'm saying, that I want to get in the hands of people who have more than one job, who are doing more.
This is for the employers, or?
Lots of people run small businesses, Lisa.
Okay.
Lots of people run their own small businesses in addition to working for somebody. I'm talking about poor folks. I'm talking about people who have side businesses, and they are myriad, and they're largely service people too. Service industry, not selling a widget.
Right, and also this would also obviously allow for some of those restaurants that have otherwise not qualified for funding to apply for this program as well.
So,
that was one of the goals.
I think we have a motion to approve tonight and a second with a request
Mr.
that
Mayor,
at the next meeting, we'll have kind of a summary on how many were approved and where they were, and some more information about what more need might be out there.
We can expand the scope to a greater number of small businesses.
Mayor Scott
Mr. Mayor,
signaled that he wanted to say something.
Before this motion and second and vote, this 13.1 item is actually to transfer the money over, and the 13.2 item will be for the ERDA contract. Just so I wanted you guys to be aware of that before you made your motions.
This is just the, okay.
It's just a resolution.
Oh, the EEDA budget item. Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for 13.1, which is to consider approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Jerry made one, Rob seconded it.
Oh, okay, it was a motion and a second already. Any other discussion?
Yes. Will the individuals who apply and are awarded these funds, will all that information be public record?
Would you like it to be public record?
I think since we are using, tax dollars, it should be public information.
Yeah. I was trying to think through that. I mean, obviously, following open records because of public funds, that is typically the case. Yeah, so.
Thank you.
There can be exclusions made to that if needed, but I don't think there's a case for that.
Application would be a public record. Now, whether or not the people that weren't, I still think it's probably a public record, but I do know if they receive money, it's going to be public.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
I just wanted to get some clarification, Lisa. It's a maximum of 15,000?
It is.
Okay.
So a total of all of those expenses for your business, or 15,000, whichever is less. So if your total expenses for 3 months equate to $12,000, that would be your application amount. If they equate to $20,000, the max you could request would be 15.
One last question. As far as applicants and the money being used, if we had a situation where there was money left over, unlikely, but if it did happen, someone needed to come back again, would we be willing to help them more than once?
This money would be earmarked only for that purpose. So
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item 13.2, which we were kind of working on already, is approve the supplemental agreement between Enid Economic Development Authority and Enid Regional Development Alliance Incorporated for the administration of the funds for the Small Business Support Program and authorize execution of all related documents.
Approve. Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell? Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye. Okay. Item 14, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item 15, all trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 16, Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 16.1, approval of claims in the amount of $2,870.72.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Zell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Funk?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, item number 17, public comment. I think everybody has had a chance to speak that was signed up for a specific topic, except Mr. Henry. Did you have something you'd like to say? Okay. Anybody else had anything that didn't get a chance to sign up? Okay, seeing none, we're adjourned.